So I wanted to follow up after my weekend review because what a crazy day. I was aware of the news on DeepSeek and how that might affect stocks, but I really obviously didn't consider it enough um, because we had these huge gap downs today. One thing, I wanted to start with market internals. This is a dashboard that I've made that I use every day that shows me SPY up here, Qs over here, and there's a few select indicators that I've custom coded to help me get a read on the market um, all around here. So I keep the VIX down below, and at the bottom of the VIX here, I have a grid that shows me the sectors, the sector ETFs within the market and where they are from where they closed on the last trading day and where they are from the open today. And this is, I mean, you look at this chart, at this box here, and you'd think there's absolutely nothing wrong with the market because, you've basically got a bunch green and a few red and not a big deal. And over here, I've got this one market range map that shows me QQQ, Apple, and SMH, XLF, XLV, and IWM sort of representing the two halves or the two different scales of the market. And then I map where they are within their day's trading range. And you can see that, some of them, about half of them were up near the highs of the range most of the day, and the others were near the low of the range. Again, when I see that, that's not bearish. That's rotation, right? That's money being in one, coming out of one place and going into another. And so I looked at these charts all day long, and even SPY, a huge gap down, but then just sideways all day. QQQ, huge gap down, sideways all day. So not a lot to be worried about here. And even here, like, it's kind of funny to think like the amount of this is tick down here, and then under that I have this map that shows me throughout the day how much time was spent above and below the zero line here on tick. And so as it spends more time below, this goes down, and as it starts to spend time above, the line goes up, and you can see it spent most of the day down below, but again, just flat, so it doesn't really matter. QQQ spent most of its time building below, but not going down, just spending time below the tick zero line. So overall, not a bearish day. And then when what I want to do is go back and kind of look at all the things that I talked about that I wanted to trade coming into the week and where they are now and how I was thinking about that this morning. But first, we got to talk about NVIDIA, which actually wasn't on my list because of this. I was aware that there was I thought that we would be getting potential higher low here, but then I thought, well, with this news, it could go a lot lower. I didn't anticipate this gap down, and so that was kind of a disappointment on my part. Like I really should have been shorting it, and even on the morning, I was like, how bearish should I be? Because there were a lot of things that were rallying hard in the morning. So, for example, Meta, which is on my list for earnings later in the week. Look at this bounce pre-market. Like, I didn't even come look at the computer until this candle here. And by then, it had gone down and bounced all the way up again. Before the market even opened, it was already at this big, amazing bounce. So, I come in and I'm like, I'm not sure what to think. I didn't really know what to do. Things are already bouncing. Apple did the same sort of thing, right? Yeah, Apple hit a bottom, and by the time I came in over here, it was already back into prior day's range. And so what do you do with that information, right? Like, I didn't know exactly how to play that. And so what I ended up doing was looking at, well, which of my setups are broken. And I think I had a couple that I removed off here. I'll have to go back and look, but I basically just thought, okay, well, what setups was I looking for that are broken, and what setups are still present? And so Boeing and Meta were for later in the week earnings trades, and so I didn't consider those too much. However, I do always look at relative strength and relative weakness. And so in the morning, when I saw that Meta was having this huge bounce pre-market, that put it on my radar for thinking, well, this one's relatively strong. And then TEM is one that I was looking for a daily higher low. This is the Nancy Pelosi trade I talked about, where I wanted to get involved in this name. And in the pre-market, it had also gapped down on this news. But if you saw my video from earlier in the day, my midday video, you can get a sense for how I was thinking about this news. And I actually don't think that it's like bearish for this name at all. So This one did not. It was doing exactly what I wanted. It was giving me an attempt at a daily higher low. So I traded that, and it was my best trade of the day. So I'll come back to that though. Well, maybe I won't. I'll just do it now. So what happened was on the open, it was chopping around down here at this. I was basically waiting for the opening range, and I think I might have even been on the 1 minute time frame. Let's go look and see. Yeah, and so it was basically, it had come down and then gone up and come down, and it was holding at this level, and I bought it there. I thought, well, I'm just gonna risk. Actually, I think I held on longer because based on where I'm seeing, let me just look and see. I can't remember exactly what the time was when I bought it, but I bought it after this low had been set, right? Like after it came down to set this low and then rallied up from there, I thought, well, that's either the low or I'm wrong. So if it comes back down there, near there again, I'm going to try. And then it did here, I didn't buy. It did here, I bought, but I got a terrible entry. I thought it was a terrible entry at 48.65. And then it came up, tested the high of range again. And I was thinking about selling some, but I didn't. And then it just started to go. And I'm so glad I didn't sell any right away because I ended up selling some here after this push up. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it legged up like that. So I sold a portion and put my stop in down there. And then it went up higher and I sold more here when it got up here. And I think I was looking at, here, if I drag this back, you'll see the ranges from prior day. So yeah, at that point when it got up here, it was above the point of control from prior day, this pink line here. And I thought, oh, that's a spot where if it's going to test the range from the prior day, that's a really good spot to take a little bit more off. So I took more off there and I just kept my stop and I held it through the rest of the day, the remainder. And then at the end of the day, let me take this off again. It started to rally again and into the after hours was rallying again. So my hope is that this daily higher low trade plays out. Looking back on it now, that did feel like a pretty excellent spot to get long. So we'll see. I think if I get stopped out on that, I don't really care too much because I'll just try again lower. If it's still looking for a daily higher low lower down, I'm fine with that. And even if I do get stopped out, I've sold enough now that it was such a big move up that I've sold enough now that I've made a tidy profit on it already. So stopping and restarting that trade is just fine with me. Tesla, believe it or not, is still in a daily uptrend because it had this low, high, low. It's actually a lower low, lower high, higher low, higher high, and is scouting a higher low against this low here on the dailies. So it's not the most bullish. It has had a big retracement, but honestly, I didn't even pay attention to it today at all. I just thought that it was not the most bullish. Like look at this bounce compared to the Meta bounce, for example. Meta was way higher. And I thought, well, if I'm going to be playing strength for a bounce, I should be looking at names like Meta and names like Apple. And yeah, let's talk about Apple for a minute because this is bonkers. I had said that if it goes lower, like what I was looking for was for it to go lower and I would buy lower pre-earnings because my theory was that if it keeps pushing down prior to earnings, then when earnings comes out, the most likely scenario is a bounce even if the numbers are bad. Because you can't just keep sending it down, sending it down, sending it down. It needs to have some sort of mean reversion. And so my sense was even if the numbers came out bad, it might push down further on earnings, but then the following day the bounce would begin. It was my theory. And lo and behold, we get this gap down this morning and the buyers just showed up. And on the open, they showed up with force. And so it's the opposite of what I thought it was going to be. It's that they're not going to dump it into earnings. They're going to run it up into earnings. And that means that if the numbers come out bad, there will be room for downside because it will have given a bit of relief here on this bounce prior to the earnings. And so my guess is that it's going to keep pushing up over the next few days. It had this really solid, steady slope of one rally today. You can kind of look at it like this. Nice steady slope of one going up. And so that was, I didn't trade this. I didn't get involved in this. I could have, I guess, but I had other things I was focusing on and trying. But yeah, we get a nice little pullback here to the VWAP at the end of the day and then a bit of a bounce. My guess is that we set an hourly higher low and continue tomorrow. We'll see. We will see. But either way, I just wanted to point out that my original thesis on the idea on the trade that we were going to go lower and then bounce on earnings is now basically wrecked, unless we completely reverse tomorrow. But at this point, we're now in a daily uptrend, as you can see here on the trend tracker. So it's a bull break, scouting a higher high. And at some point, we'll be scouting a higher low on the daily, like I said, and probably an hourly higher low or 4-hour higher low or something like that. So that's what's going on there. And I'm kind of hands off it for now, which is a bummer because I don't want to get involved now prior to earnings because I just need the earnings to happen. So I should actually move it here. Now Apple is up into the earnings drift area. So I have a trade that I'd be interested in playing on Apple for a drift. So I'll talk about that maybe later in the week as we get closer to that happening. Microsoft, I was looking for a daily higher low, and look at this dip pre-market. It was so far down. I can't believe how far this went down. It's basically at the lows here pre-market. It was that far down. And look at the bounce. Pre-market got it back up to here, almost halfway into the range that had been building. And then boom, even more solid up, and it closed at the highs and is holding the highs after hours. Like, what a baller move on Microsoft. But it was basically like the trend here was kind of broken to me, and so it wasn't because it sunk so far down. I just didn't feel as strongly about it, and it opened having broken the daily higher low trade idea. So that one went kind of back burner, and then PLTR was very wobbly. I didn't pay too much attention to this at all. IONQ didn't pay attention to it. Oxy, this one I was really disappointed that I didn't buy it off the open because I thought it was already hourly oversold for daily higher low coming in, right? And I was looking for that 12-hour, I think, into this range, and I was really bummed that I didn't buy it down here at 12-hour oversold, which I do think it got today. Let me just check. Get this on here and have a peek. Didn't quite get there. It was close. It says it got it here, but that doesn't seem accurate to me. It probably did and then closed above or something like that. Anyway. So yeah, this one I was bummed, but then it came all the way back in. I was like, oh, I guess it was going to continue down anyway. So getting less interested in that. But I'm going to keep my eyes on it. It's not, there's no clean move on it yet. And it's still below this 4-hour EMA 12. So not really sure what I want to do with that, if anything. And I'll talk about NVIDIA last. There was one other Meta I wanted to talk about in detail really quick. So Meta did come onto my list, and I was looking at it on the open. Let me make this bigger. And I'm going to pull this back. So obviously this would have been the trade, right? This would have been the best trade. But if you look pre-market at what happened, came down, gap down, went further, pushed all the way back up over the gap down, came back, set a higher low, and then on the open, this is what it did. It rallied. I wasn't interested. It came back down. I was interested. And right here, I was thinking, oh, I should probably buy it there. I bet you it's going to hold. I bet you it's going to hold there. And I could put a stop down below this price action here. Because it had already come here. And when it started to push back up, I was like, I should just do it. I should just do it. I should just do it. And because it was the most bullish, and I didn't. And I don't know why. I don't know why I didn't do it. I should have done it. I feel stupid for not doing it. It's like sometimes you know what the right thing is to do, and for whatever reason, you don't pull the trigger. But my God, that was such a great move. Where's my measuring tool here? That is a bummer that let's see. If I had bought it somewhere in there and up to here, that's like almost 6%. Like, excellent move that I could have captured. So I'm really disappointed. This is one of those times where I'm like, it's basically a trade off the low of day holding. Like it came down. The fact that it extended up, extended down, and you can see on this candle here where it extended down and bounced, it's bouncing, right? The chance of it continuing up is pretty high, even just to test this high, let alone to go higher. And so this to me is just a missed opportunity. I'm really disappointed in myself for not taking that trade. But live to trade another day, and I had a great profitable day, so I can't complain too much. Last but not least, let's talk about NVIDIA. So coming into the close, my thought was, and I talked about it in the video earlier, that I'm thinking a gap down would be pretty sweet. But let me put this on the 2 minute, and maybe it was a 5. What was holding it down all day? Let's just put on the MA rider. What held it down? It wasn't 5. I think it was 15. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so if you look at this MA rider, and I'm going to get rid of this to make it more clear. So the blue line is the 15-minute EMA 12 on the open. That's the one attempt it tried to go long, couldn't do it. I actually took a trade on this against a 2-minute tightening range. Yes, so it set a low, set a high, set this higher low, came up, and then was coming down. And as it was coming down, I bought it against this low right here, which is kind of a dumb thing to do. It's an intraday low, and I don't normally trade those, but I thought I'd give it a try, and I stopped out. Luckily, it was a tiny, tiny amount. And then it came down further. It broke this low, and I bought it down here again. Basically, I waited for all the way through the stair step, and I bought it right off this inside bar bear break, and I basically had my stop right down below there. And I got risk-free on this move up, and then I ended up stopping out on that risk-free trade. And because I had the loss over here on this move, and I had a nice decent move off of this, like I was more than risk-free when this happened. So I basically came out flat on the video overall. But I'm kind of kicking myself now because it was clearly the weaker one. It was the one most affected by the news, and I probably should have just been shorting here. I should have even been shorting here. So anyway, I feel kind of dumb. I'm just generally long biased, and I feel very comfortable playing long plays. So I think that's why I got clouded here. Anyway, back to the 15-minute time frame. Looking at this and thinking about, how could I have played this? Because after hours, you can see like 15-minute held it down, held it down, held it down, held it down, held it down. And I generally don't like to initiate trades near the close, the market close. But this move was great. And once again, I can't get at my measurement tool here. This move was great. So if you had played the break right here after the close for an after hours move, you were looking at over 3% to the upside, plenty to hold on to and get risk free with a manual stop below there. And I honestly thought when it started drifting up after hours, I was watching it and I was like, oh, I missed the bounce on the video. This sucks. But I think I'm probably better off not having taken that trade, especially seeing how it drifted back down towards after hours close. For all we know, we're going to wake up tomorrow and it can be back up here, or we can wake up tomorrow and it's gapping down again. Who knows? The market is crazy. My sense, based on the reaction of all the other stocks in the market, on the fact that we had great rotation in the market today, on the fact that so many of these other tech names are already bouncing, I think there's a high likelihood we might even just like move up and even gap up tomorrow morning. I don't know. Either way, I think if I'm still interested in NVIDIA and getting long. I just need to find the right spot. If we do open up within range, I'd be looking for a play against the low of today, tomorrow morning. If we open up below range, I'm interested in a gap and go. If we open up above, I don't know what to do. And I think I'm just going to probably sit on my hands on NVIDIA and not think about it too much. So, big day, crazy day to start this nutso week. By the way, I forgot to mention in my week the week ahead video that we have FOMC this week too. So right in the middle of all this craziness, we've got FOMC happening. So anyway, I'd say this week, really important to keep it tight. I'm going to try to keep it tight on a lot of my trades. And by that, I mean like play the setups the way I know how to play them, get risk-free and put in a stop. And if you get big moves really fast, just take your money and run. And that's it. So that's what I'm thinking. Hope you guys had a great day.